Welcome to the Spunky Spirit Podcast. I'm your host, psychic medium Carrie Muggs. This is where we learn all things spirit, everything from spiritual gifts, awakenings, ghosts, aliens, and starseeds. Nothing is untouchable, but always fun and spunky. I am honored to be on this spiritual journey with you, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Spunky Spirit. I am Carrie Muggs, and this week we were supposed to do questions and answers, but I have been sick, and so I didn't get the questions out there in time. So we're going to do something a little bit different today. Also, too, please be kind about my voice, because I'm on the tail end of it, but I'm still sounding a little bit clogged. So please be mindful of that. And so this morning, I was sick on Tuesday. I had to reschedule some people, and I never reschedule. So that, if I have to reschedule, I'm really sick. Because the hard thing about rescheduling is I don't have any place to reschedule them to, because it's kind of booked out. But I've also noticed that I've gotten sick twice in the last 2 months, which tells me that it's time for some self-care, and it's time for no more overbooking. So just know, just the next couple months, I will be taking a vacation. Not next week, but the week after. So May 22nd through the 28th. I'll probably have a pre-recorded podcast that week, but I am taking a much needed break, and I will not be around to answer any questions, or I am just doing lots of self-care, and I think we're going to be going to Disneyland. So that's going to be fun. So today's episode, instead of questions and answers, I woke up this morning and realized it was May 12th, which is the 23rd year of my dad's passing. So 23 years ago, my dad passed over on this day from lung cancer. And so today we're going to talk about grief and loss, because it's a huge part of what I do. And I know a lot of people are like, well, that kind of is sad. I don't want to listen to this. But you know what? Everybody goes through it. Everybody goes through some sort of grief or loss. So this can be a grief or loss of a loved one, grief or loss of a pet, grief or loss of a job or a relationship. We all go through it. And here's the thing. I don't think it's fair to ever measure anybody's grief or loss, because you know what? Pain is pain. When you have felt excruciating pain that gets you to the core, that just wipes you out in a wave of emotion, and you can't even, it affects you physically, it emotionally just affects you physically, then pain is pain. And I think some of us have all felt that pain, whether it's a loss of, now every grief is different, every loss is different, and that's just because every person's different. So somebody might feel something differently than somebody else. Loss of a child is excruciating. I've never experienced it, but I've been with clients who have loss of a parent, loss of a spouse, loss of pet. Now I know that some people think, oh, pets, it's not as big of a pain. You don't know. Because you're not in that person's. That person has a different life than you. That person may be alone and depressed, and the only thing that saved that person's life is a pet. So you never know, and that's why I want to say pain is pain. Because everybody experiences pain, and everybody's pain is different. And grief is no joke. It is debilitating. It is a huge process. It's not like a single event. It's like a process that you go through for the rest of your life. And here's what I want you to remember too. A lot of people go through grief, and they always think, I just want to be the same person I was before, or I just want things to be the same. Well, because of the loss, things will never be the same. But here's the thing. You're never going to be the same. You're never going to be the same. You're never going to be the person you were before that loss. And you know what? That's okay, because we're supposed to change, and we're supposed to be different people, and we're supposed to adapt. I am not the same person as I was the day before I lost my father. I am not the same person as I was the day before I lost my marriage. I am a different person. Now, do I love who I am now? Yes. Am I thankful for those experiences? I'm thankful for some of them. I'm not going to lie, I am thankful for all the experiences, but I wish they could have I wish I wouldn't have to have a loss of a person to have this experience. Um, maybe the loss of the marriage was a good thing, but the loss of my father or loved ones, that's a little bit harder. That's, you don't want to always say, yes, I'm thankful for that journey, because you're not ever thankful for the lessons learned losing a loved one. So some of the things now, if you're going through grief, I want you to know first, this is going to be kind of helping people who are going through grief, and this is going to help you help people going through grief. There is no set way on how to deal with grief. So people can grieve for a really long time. And if you are one of those people that are like, oh my gosh, that happened 2 years ago, why are you still, that needs to stop. Because here's the thing. Sorry, I have to get a drink because I'm going to cough. There is no time limit on this. There is no time limit on grief. And so you may be able to get past grief in a month or two for something that you lost. But some people can't, and that's okay. But you do not judge them for that. Some people go through grief that are going to last them a lifetime. Most of the time, grief does. It's been 23 years since my dad died. Do I still cry about it? Yep, sometimes I do. Do I cry about it every day? No. When he first passed, I sat on I had little tiny kids running around my house, and I sat on my couch in the front room for days in my sweats, just looking out the window. Now, do I still do that? No. But do I drive down the street and hear a song that comes on and I cry? Yes, I do. Do I miss him? Terribly. Please excuse my voice. This is crazy. But I do. I missed him all the time. And I'll be doing things and I'll be like, I wonder if my dad would be proud of this. I wonder if my dad would be, all of this stuff. And have I lost others? Yeah. Lots of his family has passed over. And it's not an easy thing. It's not. And it's so crazy how you could be okay 1 minute and then it just takes you over like a wave. Like it's like you're standing in the ocean, just doing whatever and living out your life. And then all of a sudden a big wave just comes in and knocks you over just out of the blue. And that's sometimes how grief works. So, everyone grieves differently. Please remember this. As you are grieving, give yourself a break. Be gentle to yourself. Give yourself some grace. Everyone, you don't have to be strong. I know lots of people are like, well, I want to be strong for them. They don't care if you're strong. They want you to live your life happily, but they don't want you to prove to them they're strong. They want you to process the grief. They want you to be true to who you are, and they do want you to process whatever feelings and emotions you're going through. Being strong is not burying them and not pretending to be okay, or pretending to be okay for others. It's okay to process this stuff. You have to. You can't just let it sit in you and pretend to be strong for everybody else, because it might get you through the moment, but a couple years down the road, you're going to fall apart. So just know they understand if you can't be strong 24/7. They get it. And they wouldn't want you to be. They want you to process that emotion. So there are different stages of grief, and just know too that this isn't linear. This isn't like, okay, this is how you're going to go through it. This, then this, then this, then this, then this. It's like a process. It's like you can go back and forth between each one. And so a lot of you probably know it's denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and acceptance. And the reason why I'm going through them pretty fast is because I think I might have mentioned them in a podcast before. But this is mostly about, I wanted this one to be mostly about being kind to yourself and knowing that there is no normal. There is no normal going through grief. You can, and here's another thing too. When I used to first do readings, I would get so sad because I would want my readings to help people, and I'd want it to heal them. I'd want it to be like, okay, the spirit came through, they told you they're okay, everything should be good now. And doing many, many, many readings and for the last, 10 years, I can't heal anybody. I don't. That's not what readings do. Readings can give you closure. Readings can help you feel closer to the person. Readings can help you know that they're still around. But it's not a cure all. It's not going to make things go away. And everything's going to be better. And it took me a long time to realize that too. So just know you can do a lot of things and they can help and they can help with the journey. But nothing's ever going to take that grief or that pain away forever. It's something that's going to be with you forever. And that's okay. Is it something that you're going to cry about every day? Maybe for the first couple of years, maybe for the first 3 years, but not forever. Not for 23 years. So, I want you to, if you're going through grief right now, what I want to is acknowledge that there's a huge difference between grief and depression. Grief can cause depression. So this is between you and your caregiver, whether or not you need to get on medication to get through the grief, or to numb it, or to handle it for the first few years. And that's up to you. And that's something that's between you and your caregiver. And just know that if you feel like you cannot function every day now that's how I was when my dad passed for the first 2 months. I probably should have sought some sort of mental health stuff and maybe tried some medication. I did get out of it because I had to. I had 4 kids, 4 babies running around, and I didn't have a choice. I had to feed them, and I had to take care of them. So, and I knew that that's what my dad would have wanted me to do. But if you feel like you can't even function and you just can't get out of bed, please seek some sort of medical attention or medical help. It's not something that you want to do for the rest of your life. It's just something to help with some cope mechanisms right now. So, or counseling, any kind of counseling. That would be the number one thing that I would suggest doing if you feel like you need it. If you're functioning pretty well and you're going day to day and it just depends too on where you're at in this cycle. Everybody's different. So if you get into, the 2-year mark and you're still not able to function day-to-day stuff, I would definitely seek help. Probably sooner than that, but I think that would be between you. Just kind of check yourself, see where you're at here, see if it's you're so far lost in your pain that you cannot function without crying or your mental state. Now, you need to some of the things that might help you through grief is you need to acknowledge that you're feeling grief. You need to acknowledge that, okay, this is normal. This is not, this is not something that anybody has a book written about on how to do. So acknowledge that you're in the grieving stage and that's okay. And accept that your grief can trigger other emotions. It can trigger tons of different emotions. It can trigger past PTSD, past traumas. It can trigger lots and lots of things. So just realize that that's the thing about grief is you go through grief and you find out that it triggers lots of other different things that you went through in your life too. And that's why it's almost like compounded. So just acknowledge that grief can trigger other emotions. And again, everyone grieves differently. Do not compare yourself to anybody else. This is this is a number one rule in everything. In career, in who you are, in fitness, everything. Do not compare yourself to anybody else. Just because the lady down the street who lost her husband is out and dating again and you think that you need to, and you're not, doesn't mean you're wrong. She's not wrong. You're not wrong. You're both coping with the loss differently. You cope with it the way you know how to, and that is okay. And that is being said, do not judge ever, 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 ever on how somebody is dealing with their own loss, ever, because you have no idea. Everybody is different. If you lost a child and somebody else lost a child and you don't think they're grieving the right way, you have no right to decide how they should grieve because you have no idea how their relationship was with that child. Your relationship with your child is completely different than theirs. So just kind of know that because pain is pain. I don't care. pain hurts. Pain is no joke, and with grief comes lots of pain. So just be aware. Um, Also, too, it'd be kind of helpful if sometimes, you're going through such an emotional chaos and such an emotional roller coaster that you would maybe take care of yourself physically during this time. Be very kind to yourself physically because emotionally you're going to be a complete mess, and that's okay. So, and sometimes the emotions can come through physical exercise, doing things physically. So, no matter, I mean, after the pain is pretty severe, try your hardest to find something physical to do to keep that moving and process that inside you. Now, but self-care is super, super important during the grieving process. And you're gonna feel selfish, and you're gonna feel like, no, I have to be strong for everybody else. But you know what? You can't be strong for everybody else if you're not taking care of you. So you are the number one person that you've got to deal with. Now, here's the thing, the family dynamics. You lose a sibling, and so you think you have to take care of the parents, and you hide your loss because you're trying to take care of the parents, or you're trying to take care of the spouse. So when my dad died, I lost a father, and I expected my mother to take care of me. I did not even fathom that she just lost a husband, her companion that she was with for a super long time. All I cared about was me. And so I needed to step back. I needed to let my mom grieve in her way, and I needed to figure out how to take care of me and not feel that emotional support from my mother. I needed to be strong for me, and I needed to let my mom process it the way she wanted to, and I was super selfish during that time, and I will admit it. I hate to admit it, but I was. And I shouldn't have expected anybody that had lost. I shouldn't have expected my brother or my mother or my brother and my mom to help me through my dad's death. I should have gone to counseling or to friends, but they were just trying to. Gosh, my mom was just trying to survive. The last thing she could do was take care of her kids too. But there are some people who are like, I got to stay strong for the kids, or I got to stay strong for this person. You know what? My mom needed to be strong for her. My mom, and was I hurt at the time? I think I probably was. But you know what? Too bad for me. It's live and learn, right? Because my mom needed to get through it she needed to get through it. I needed to be, if anything, I need to be strong for her. But why do we have to be strong for each other? I know we both lost a significant person in our life. So I needed to dig deep and figure out other ways to process it other than going to my mom and draining her energy for it. I hope that makes sense. Because I want you to be there for your family members and help them. But I want you to realize they're grieving too. They're grieving too. It is okay for you to feel your stuff. It is okay for you to hurt. But you can't expect your other family members to help you get through it when they're trying to just deal with their own stuff too. No matter what the relationship. Because this is where outside sources will help. This is where counseling will help. Because if you want to be strong for some of your family members, then you need to be processing it in other ways besides your family. And that's kind of a fine line, because I'm not saying you can't be there for your family, but just give them some grace and give you some grace. Losses are no joke, and they're just hard to manage and get through anyways. So don't expect too much from anybody, and don't expect too much from yourself. Don't expect anything. Nobody knows how to deal with it when you go through a major loss like that. So just go in it without any expectations from anybody else. So, and that kind of goes to the next one, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others who are also going through it. And realize they're just doing the best they can. You're doing the best you can, and they are doing the best they can. And I promise you, the spirit that's passed does not expect you to be over them in 2 days. And they want you to process it and feel it how you need to feel it. And kind of be educated. Be educated on how the process works. So then that way when things come up, you know that it's kind of okay. It's not kind of okay, it's okay. Be educated on how grief works. Be educated on how loss works. And There's lots of books. All you have to do, I was going to list some books, but I haven't, um, I don't want to recommend books that I haven't read. So all you have to do is Google books on grieving, and there's a ton listed. So you can go Google that and find a book that fits for you. Find one that reaches out to you. There are lots of sources out there. Um, and express yourself. Now, here's the thing. I expressed myself to my mother during my father's death a lot, and I should have read the signs that it was overwhelming for her because she lost her husband, and I expected her to be able to listen to me, and she was already at capacity. She was already trying to deal with her own shiz, and so when you do that, just kind of, when you express yourself, make sure you're expressing it to somebody who can listen or who has the capacity, somebody that's not trying to be strong for you, or somebody, that's if they have capacity, that's great. But ask them first if they have the capacity. Don't just expect them to have the capacity for you. Now, when you help others grieve, this is really, really hard. I know a lot of people. The one thing that was the hardest is when at my dad's funeral, people would be like, if there's anything I can do, let me know. I'm not going to let you know. I'm not going to call you and be like, hey, can you do this? So instead of saying that, do small things for them. Bring them over some food, or bring them, some sort of. I think the hardest thing is, if you need help, just call me. They're not going to call you. They're not going to call you. Maybe some people do. I don't know, but I didn't, and so sometimes I try and think. So sometimes when people lose loved ones, I buy them a grieving book, or I take over food, or I send flowers. That helps me. That helped, I think, our family more than when people just said, if you need anything, call me. And I understand where people say, if you need anything, call me, because you don't want to bug them, and you don't want to disturb them, and that's okay too, because see, that's where it works on both ends, because you want to help, but you don't know what to say, and you don't know what to do, and then it makes it awkward. So and a lot of times people will, like when my dad first passed over, when people would go talk to my mom, they wouldn't mention him, or they'd be afraid to mention him. And that's kind of hard too, because they still want to talk about him. They still want, that was still part of their lives. And so I know it's so awkward, and I know it's like walking on eggshells, but just know that they still love this person, and they still like to talk about them, and they still like to have memories of them. So don't feel like you can't bring this person up, the person that has passed. And make sure that when they do talk to you, or that you're present and you're listening. Don't be distracted. Don't be really listen to them. Don't be thinking in your head, okay, what do I say to this? What do I say? Really listen, and just be honest and sincere, and just be like, if you don't know what to say, say, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry. Just be honest, because they know. They've probably been through another loss that maybe they didn't know how to, you know what I mean? We've all been there. We've all been in that awkward, how do we respond, or what do we say, or I don't know what to say. So just be you. Just be who you truly are, and just do the best you can. I think that they understand that too. And be respectful. Don't, I don't even know how to, don't just show some respect. I don't even know what this one, do the small things. Just be respectful of how they feel. Don't just say, well, things that are so hard is things like, well, God must have needed him. Well, you know what? So did we. And God has everything. God gets everyone. So why does God need him? So things like that are kind of, not, they hurt the wrong way, or it must have been his time. You know what? Yeah, maybe it was, but I don't want to hear that. And I know some of my clients, they don't want to hear that. And things like, well, he's doing good work over there. Well, that's great, but he was doing good work over here too. So just be careful about the things that that you say to somebody. And I know that it's hard because we don't know what to say and we want to make it so badly. Do we want to make them feel better? And so we do say things like that, thinking that it's helping. In reality, it's not. So just be respectful and just be understanding. Just be understanding that, yeah, it sucks. It sucked. And it's going to be one of the hardest things they ever go through. So, um, just kind of understand that and try and be, if you, it's really hard because I get that both people on the side of this fence are really trying. But when you say things like that, it kind of diminishes the importance of that person. Well, okay, God needed him, but so did I. So am I not important to God? Things like that. So just be kind of, understand what you say it. Think before you say things. Yeah, and especially things like the good die young. That's hard too because I don't know. Lots of good people are still alive. So why, you know what I mean? So just be careful about those kind of things that you say. Validate their feelings. Really know that what they're feeling is true. And it is hard. And it's probably one of the hardest things I'll ever go through. And so validate that. And this isn't just a loss of a loved one. This is a loss of a relationship when people go through really hard, or this is a loss of other things, not just, this is grief. Grief is grief. When you lose something that means a lot to you. This is, so like if somebody comes to you and is in grief because they lost their job and you're like, oh, there's always, you want to, at the moment, yes, there's always another one, and they can try again. But if they really love that job and it was something, and their self-esteem is just shattered, just saying things like, "Oh, there's another one out there," it's just hard because yes, they know there's another one out there, but give them a couple days. Give them a couple days with a job, more than a couple days with a person. But let them grieve, let them cry, let them. I always told my girls, you get 3 days. And this is with the loss of not a person, but just like a boyfriend, or you get 3 days. You get to cry. You get to do all the things you want to. And then you put your big girl panties on and you get back out there. And now with the loss of a person, that's going to be different. It's going to be way different. So you kind of measure where that's at with you. And it is going to be awkward. And just know that that's okay. If you lose someone close to you and someone's trying their hardest to make you feel better, just know that they're trying. And if you are going to somebody and you're trying to help them and say the right thing, just know you're never going to be able to say the right thing. You're not, and that's okay. It's just such an awkward, hard thing, and nobody really knows how to get through it. And so we just kind of, every day is a different day, and every day we just try hard. And nobody knows how each individual themselves is going to get through this. So if you're a person that's trying to help somebody get through it, give yourself some grace. If you're a person trying to get through it, give yourself some grace. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say. We got to be kinder and gentler to each other and to ourselves, because this, grief and loss is probably one of the hardest things we will ever go through on this earth. And everyone's going to experience it. I don't care who you are. Everyone's going to experience it. And so let's be kind to each other when we do. And let's give people some grace, and let's just hold that space for them. And when I say hold space, that just means give them room to be who they need to be in that moment, and cry and do the things that they need to. Because it is a hard thing, and it is very emotional. So, and we might not understand it. I don't understand the loss of a child. I don't understand the death of a spouse. I understand losing a marriage, a 15-year marriage, but I don't understand the death of a spouse. So that's where we got to give each other some grace, and understand too, if you're going through some grief, some people aren't going to understand it, and that's okay. That's okay. It's just a tricky road, grief is. It's one of the hardest things, but as long as we do our best and we try and be who we are, and we know that there is no normal way, right? There is no normal way, then I think we could probably help each other get through it. this is where we really just have to be kind to ourselves and kind to others. So I hope that one helps, guys. That was a tricky one, but I had to honor my dad somehow today. 23 years. And yes, a lot of people out there are probably like, it's been 23 years. You should fine. I'm fine. I am fine. But do I miss him? Yeah, I miss him. I miss him all the time. I talk about him all the time. I see Moose all the time because that's what our sign is. And I still see 777 all the time. I still have a relationship with him, even though he's gone. So do I miss him sometimes? Yeah. When we're doing cool, fun family stuff, I totally miss him. Do I miss him when one of my kids gets married and he's not there? Totally do. And just people saying, well, he's around. I know he's around. I'm a medium. I know he's around, and I know they're trying to help. So that's okay. But it's still, when they're not physically there, it's still hard. It's still hard. And even though they're watching, and even though that they're with you and they're proud, it's still freaking hard. So let's just, that's another thing too. You never know what somebody's going through. Never. I remember when my dad passed away and I had gone to Target right after because the funeral, he died on May 12th and the funeral was May 15th. And I went straight to Target. I can't even believe I did that. I went straight to Target to get a dress for the funeral because I didn't have a dress and I had to speak. And I remember just walking through Target, looking at everybody, thinking, I wonder what they went through today that's really hard. Whew, I wonder what they went through because you never know, right? Like you never know. Shopping at Target, being next to somebody. I can't even remember. Was I at Target or Walmart buying milk? I can't even remember. But I was at the store. I was buying something. I was looking at people around me thinking, God, do they even know? I just lost my dad an hour ago, And then I went to check out and the checker was like, how was your day today? And I looked at her and I said, my dad just died. And she just looked at me. That was so mean of me to do to her. So mean of me to do to her. Like, what was she supposed to do? She just looked at me with big eyes and she's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, it's fine. And I broke down at the cashier's right there, just started crying, totally crying. And poor checkout girl, right? Because we do crazy things when we're grieving. We're not thinking straight. We're not doing, and that checkout girl, bless her heart, she did the best she could. She was present and she was sorry. And that's all we can do, right? That's the perfect thing right there. When there's loss, people do crazy things. And we just have to be present and listen. And that's what that sweet little checkout girl did. She was present and she listened. And just know when you're walking through the store, you have no idea what all those people are going through that day. What all of those people that are also shopping have gone through or lost. So I guess grief, this episode is mostly just explaining kind of what grief is, that it's no joke. And on both sides of it, trying to help somebody through it and trying to get through it. And we just need to be kinder to each other and do the best we can and be ourselves. And don't expect anybody to get over it because they're not going to, because it changes you. It changes you from that moment on, changes you for the rest of your life. It's never going to be the same. And that's also what we're grieving. We're not only grieving the person, we're grieving all the things that we were going to do with that person, all of the weddings that all of the family things that were going to happen, all the plans, we're also grieving the life that we were going to create with that person. And so there's a lot at stake here. So just know that it's a deep, complex thing. And if you need help outside your family, because don't expect any of your family to be strong for you because they have the same loss, get help. And go to your friends or go to somebody who understands. But always know, too, that they're just doing the best they can, too. So I hope this kind of helps. I hope you get it. I just know I deal with this every day, grief, and it's hard to navigate through. And it's just sometimes the pain is so unbearable that you can't even navigate through it. So just know that you're loved and that they are watching over you. And if you feel like you can't, then, take one more day, then get help the best that you can and ask for help. So I love you guys so much. I'm so sorry about my voice. I'm so sorry about me coughing and drinking water in the middle of it, but it's been nuts. So I'll probably try and do the questions and answers next week, or I might do something else next week and then just pre-record the question and answers for the end of May when I'm gone, when I go on my vacation. So I love you guys so much. Also, too, we are having lots of fun on Patreon. We finally got the community set up, and so if you want to know more about that, go to my Instagram in the bio link, or you could, I think it's in the bio link. And also coming up, we're gonna have June. In June, we're gonna have spirit circles, and also I think I'm gonna start helping people start building their spiritual practices. So start watching out for things like that. That's gonna be fun. So I love you guys, and I will see you next week. If you like this episode, please hit the subscribe button and share it to all those that you think will enjoy it.